Hello, duckies and dice fiends. Welcome back. It is Tuesday. That means it is time for the Table Talk Show. I am Kay. I am one of your co-hosts. You could find me and David here on Thursday playing Baldur's Gate 3. Same bat time, same bat channel. Friday, Ducky may or may not be streaming. I will not be playing because I will be over starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, which is 5 p.m. Pacific, I'm going to be playing Brandon over on Entropy Emporium this week. And then we're coming right back here on Tuesday to do this again, which leads us into, David, who the heck is you and what the heck is doing here?
I will eat dairy, even knowing that I will take poison damage. But no, hi, I'm David. This is the Chaotic Wholesome Table Tuesday talk show, where every week we talk about TTRPG stuff. How to be a better player, how to be a better GM, how to be a better WotC, all with a focus on intersectionality and inclusivity so that everybody can have a good time.
So yes, we are going to talk today about WotC. And look, y'all, we don't want to talk about WotC. I'm tired, Coach, but we are going to talk about it. And I'm going to remind you all that we are a community here. We are, hey, Matt, talking about the elephant in the room. Exactly.
Yep.
We are a community. We are adults, or at least adult adjacent. Oh my goodness, Herb, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome on in, everyone. Thank you, Urban Bohemian. Brian, I hope you enjoyed getting the Witch's Mountain. It is adorable. Hey, Steven, how are you? Hey, Tom. So
Y'all are just in time for us to talk about the horny gelatinous cube in the room.
we don't want to do it, but we are discussing WotC. We're going to have a talk about WotC, and it is time for this disclaimer of we are adults or adult adjacent beings. We can talk critically about things that we love. We are not here to dogpile. We are not here to just spew hate, because that is exhausting, and I can't physically do that. Hey, yes, we actually have a cat command. You can bang cat, and a thing will happen. He is giving me so much judgment face right now. Now, also, the other disclaimer is David and I are part of the D&D creators, and we do occasionally receive products and information from WotC. So we do benefit from them. I personally, how are you doing, Best Perfect? I love D&D. Like I am unabashedly, I love Dungeons and Dragons. I love Pathfinder. I love Starfinder. I like crunchy D20 systems. D&D isn't that crunchy, but it's more crunchy. I prefer D20 and more crunchy systems.
More crunchy than Powered by the Apocalypse.
Yeah. I still have some issues with D&D, and David and I try very hard in this space to talk about. Oh, Ilaria, thank you so much for the resub. Oh, we need to. So I want to put out that disclaimer that we're going to have this talk, and yes, we're going to be silly. We're going to throw time, we're going to get a little bit sassy with it, because we can't not, right? You can't be in a space with David and I and not get at least a little bit of sass.
I am at least 62% sass and another 50% spite. So do the math.
So that is going to happen, but we are not just here to sling hate. And the thing I'm going to say now, and I'm going to say it probably 2 or 3 more times, you can. Yeah, how are you doing, Nicole? You can 100% have whatever opinion and feel however you feel about WotC. We do not take it out on community or social media managers. Those are the people who take the most bullets and have the least control. I promise you, as a person who has been a community manager for more than 17 years, we have the least control, and community managers, social media managers are on your side 99.9% of the time. And the 0.1% they're not on your side, they probably know something you don't know. Like, oh yes, that artist that you were outraged that got permanently banned, it's because they were on an alternate account drawing porn of underage characters. So yeah, sometimes we can't tell you why we're not on your side, but it's very rare that we're not. And when it's that way, it's for a very good reason. So
okay, so now
disclaimers out of the way.
the disclaimers are out of the way, I have a spicy take about WotC. I've got a spicy take about the PHB 2024, the D&D Direct, and all of the things. And even Kay hasn't heard this before because we often talk about things before we get like but
hold on, I need a seatbelt.
Right. Spicy
Buckling
take.
up.
I embrace change. I am a fan of rolling out new and updated versions of things. There are too many people who are stuck in their old ways, who are like, oh man, I miss D&D when it was good, or I miss blank when it was like, all the people who are like, oh man, I miss Star Wars before all the normies got a hold of it. Shut up, all of you. The march of progress is painful, but usually and often is good. And so there are all sorts of things that, and I don't have like a physical copy in my hands yet, but there are many things that I've heard about the new PHB that I think are great decisions that I am excited about. We showed off some of the art on the talk show, and not just the art, but the forethought and the thematic cohesion of the art. I think it's really awesome. And sure, they have dropped some details that the hardcore nerds would want, but I think overall it is a movement in the right direction. However, Watson, we've done this before, okay? OGL happened.
I think you're underestimating how short WotC's memory seems to be.
But yeah, my spicy take is that I am not anti 5.5 just because. I am open to the evolution there. Because while I wasn't like in the scene, as the kids say, like when 3.5 was out and then they were rolling over into 4, there are discussions that I have overheard as late as last year inside gaming shops where they're like, oh man, WotC really just screwed up when they rolled over to 4th edition. They should have just kept it at 3.5 and just let that. No.
There were people outraged that WotC rolled over to 3.5.
Yep. Even though 3.5 needed to happen.
Everyone hates the new version immediately. And I understand change is weird, change is bad, and it's especially scary when change is happening when you're in the middle of a years-long campaign. Extra understand that stress, but continue.
And like we'll get into the details of it later, but and we're gonna talk about D&D Direct, and I have comments. I have opinions about D&D Direct.
No, you don't have those.
Yeah, I had an opinion
David
once.
Is not capable
it was
of
1992. Those. It was while my city was on fire, and that was the last time I had an opinion. No. But yeah, like there are many things that we talked about it when we were in the PHB episode, where I'm not happy that we don't have half races anymore, if for no other reason than it removed my ability to come up with all sorts of creative slurs. And also also nothing I would ever say into a hot mic, but also like as a product,
so problematic,
right? Look, if you take a second of not being chaotic, then I gotta fill it. But as someone who is a product of what some would call interbreeding, what some would call race mixing, even though we are all the same species, having that in tabletop makes for some interesting real world parallels and interesting flavoring that I as a GM can inject into games, or I as a player can experience in oftentimes a different way. And so the removal of that, because let's face it, it creates a lot of cultural problems. But I think instead of like tackling that nuance, just removing it entirely so that they don't have to think about it, I think is a mistake. And I got a problem with that. But overall, with the very little that I've seen, I am curious and excited to see what the white guys in the D&D next trailer have come up with for me to experience.
So, before we dive too deep in, I don't think I even showed you this one, Dave. I think I did retweet it. And the gnome. And I'm posting the link in chat. And I'm gonna put it to you, David, so I can easily access it after stream because it's got to go in the VOD. Anne is excellent. You should be following Anne. But Anne had a whole thing about what her big complaint, which is this page, which is the first page, right? Like, I looked over it all because it's always the credits, right? Here's the credits page for Ravenloft. And I went through, now half my D&D books are already packed because I'm moving, y'all. But Anne was like, do you know what's missing? Do you know what's on this credit page? Just credits. Credits for the art, credits for this, credit for that. You know what's missing? You know what's not there? The disclaimer. And it did not occur to me until I watched Anne's video, which you should watch Anne's video and you should like it and you should follow Anne. Because here, Van Richter's Guide to Ravenloft. Disclaimer. By the sole act of opening this book, you acknowledge your complicity in the domain-spanning conspiracy that denied me, Aslan Rex, Wizard King of Darkon, my rightful place as both author and cover model for what could have been much more than this doubtful collection of lies and slander. Fortunately, as I've recently found my immortality unburdened by the trivialities of rule, I have endless opportunity to pursue vengeance for even the pettiest affronts. Please prepare for my coming. I expect to be quartered in the utmost comfort while we personalize your redefinition of the word horror. From the Monster Manual. Disclaimer, any similarities between monsters depicted in this book and monsters that actually exist are purely coincidental. That goes double for mind flayers, which are absolutely, utterly, and completely do not exist, nor do they secretly exist in the D&D team. Do we really need a disclaimer to tell you that you shouldn't use your brain to consider such irrational thoughts? They only make the mind cluttered, confused, and unpleasantly chewy. A good brain is nice and tender and barely used. Go ahead, put down this book and go watch some reality TV or internet cat videos. They're really funny these days. You won't regret it. We say this only because we love you and your juicy, succulent gamer brain. Candlekeep Mysteries. Again, these are the ones I have not packed, and we're not going through all of them. This will be the last one. Disclaimer, this book has been compiled by the avowed Candlekeep in accordance with the wishes of the late Akindo the Seer, whose prophecies foreshadow all events of consequence in the Forgotten Realm. Alando warned that anyone who unravels all the mysteries of this tome will be hunted down by the time dragon Chronipsis, tossed into the gaping maw of Dreadnar the Night Serpent, and cast into the vortex of ineffable damnation. Ha ha! What a sense of humor, that Alando. There's no disclaimer in the new book.
Yeah. Boo. Boo. And okay. And
there's space for it. Look, there's space right there. That's where it should be. It should be right there.
Disclaimer aside, whether or not we are in the creators thing or not, also thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Wizards of the Coast. Also, if Latia is one of my favorite people, if anything happens to her, you will hear from me.
Yes, Latia is a goddess. We will kill for them.
Right. Like Latia is cultivating a cult.
And
I understand that that's repeating.
we are
but-
high ranking within it,
Right.
or at least hope to be.
Like I got my robes and everything. I got my robe and wizard hat. I will put it on.
Yeah, that's a good question, Steve. Have they moved on, or is it just been forgotten?
And let's ignore the fact that like we feel that there is an element of like the insiderness, the understanding that is missing because that is left out. I'd argue it is a lack of attention to detail. And I have concerns that it's going to show up in other places, because the first thing you do when you're going to roll out a new edition of something is you go over the old edition with a microscope. And I know it wasn't one person. And I know it wasn't 5 people. I know it wasn't 10 people. So out of the dozens and dozens and dozens of people that worked on this, either a bunch of the decision makers missed it, or one of the lower people pointed it out, and one of the people higher up either forgot about it or dismissed it. And all 3 of those are problematic.
Yeah. And again, it's just, I work in video games, and I have worked on a lot of video games that are set in a part of the world where people live that is not America, or is not the home of the company that is making the game. And part of working with people who live in that actual part of the world, right? You work with groups of people, you ask for their feedback, we hire them, we ask for their feedback, we ask for their experiences. And I've had to spend a lot of time explaining to these people that we work with that, like, we can never make we can never make your hometown. We can never make, like, even New York and Spider-Man.
Yep.
Is great, but it's not. Like, I watch Herb play that, and I have moments of like, I know exactly where that is, but it's still not exact. And there will never be enough cars, and there will never be enough people for it to be New York, be Manhattan, because it can't handle it, right? So you explain to people that we can never make it we can never make it actually this place. But what you want is for there to be enough where someone who is from that place goes, that is in there for me. I recognize that. No one else might get it, but that I see it, and that was put in there for me and the people who are from this place. And that's what that kind of disclaimer in joke feels like to me. It's that, like, hey, most people you're only going to see this if you are old school, or if someone tells you to look at it, right?
Like
this is
for
the thing a
Turbo
GM shows you. Yeah, exactly. It's like, it was like my watching Deadpool 3 in the theater. And I'm sitting between 2 people, 2 mask presenting people who looked like 2 very different kinds of comic book nerds, but who were definitely like in the comic book nerd spectrum. And I was the only person laughing at a number of the jokes. It doesn't mean they're not fans. It doesn't make them they're just not the turbo nerd that particular joke was hyper targeted for. So they've been doing that since 2014, though. Lots of people have come and gone. Yeah. Now that said, like, okay, I got some opinions about the D&D Direct, which was,
I can't wait to talk
after
about
all
D&D
that's
Direct.
just happened, it's a little too polished and a little more sales-y than what I think it should have been. I think they should have spent some of the time just going over, like, hey, these are concerns you've had, right? Here's how some of these spells are changing, and this is why we think it's better. Like, and I understand that that's not what the Direct was for, but I think it would have been a little bit more tonally appropriate. I don't know. But I do agree with a lot of what they said. Having gone through and looked at some of this, now, obviously they haven't done the new character sheets on D&D Beyond, and I'm going to be honest, I've stopped building D&D characters if it's not on D&D Beyond. I am fortunate to have an unlocked account, and it makes it so much easier. But the idea that, yeah, you pick a bunch of things about your character first, like the way character creation has been changed, I do think is very good. They spent a lot of time talking about we've reimagined things. We've tried to teach you how to play. I need to fix our overlay. That's okay.
What's wrong?
We have the old Twitch.
Okay.
I need to fix it. I just may have forgotten to upload. Doesn't matter. Focusing. So I do think there are very good. Gave it D&D Beyond in January 2023. Go figure, right? So that is the next thing we're going to address, because why am I saying some of these things might be more tonally appropriate? Well, there was another little snafu with D&D Beyond. And I fell on a slightly different position than a lot of other folks, and that's totally fine, and no one has to agree with me on that.
Look, if you don't agree with Kay, you're wrong, and you're going to have to talk to me about it.
So for those of you who maybe don't know, who have not, so the 2024 Player's Handbook is coming out very soon, and all of that will be imported into D&D Beyond. And the I don't know if it's WotC or the D&D Beyond team, probably just a crowbar separation. I know there is a little bit of separation. We're basically like, all of the 2024 stuff will automatically be added. Don't worry, all of the spells and magic items from the 2014 stuff will be available in the compendium. To which a bunch of fans said, okay, but can I still use it on my character sheet? Which D&D Beyond was like, yes, it's in the compendium, and you can just homebrew them all in. And they're like, that does not answer my question. So you're telling me I can't use it?
Upgraded from to fuck you to double Dutch fuck you.
And there was an excellent tweet under one of these, and I don't remember who said it. Yeah, that test balloon was a miss. Exactly. One of the great tweets, which it was very funny. It was very poignant. Basically said, look at WotC out here posting like they have the goodwill from 3 years ago. And yes, people are... Now look, let's be honest. A lot of people would be uninterested in and upset about the 2024 updates, even if the OGL stuff hadn't happened.
Right.
Right. But that has definitely added to some of this. Now, further adding to D&D Beyond's problems is there is a ton of legacy content on D&D Beyond that, even though they're like, this is legacy, it is depreciated, it has changed, you should not use this, the new stuff is here and it is better. But there's still a legacy toggle. There's still a toggle and a tag, so you can use the legacy if you want to. Y'all, I still use legacy ASMRs. I'm sorry. Legacy ASMR is better. Fight me. I can turn into a magical girl who glows like a galaxy light using the old ASMR. I'm going to use the old ASMR. So D&D Beyond, and I do understand it, because putting all of that stuff, that is some serious database work. That is some coding work. That is work, and I understand the team going, new stuff is coming out. We want everyone on that anyway. Let's go, right? And then, of course, any spell, and they didn't do a great job of wording it, right? Because they're just like, any legacy spell that you want to use, you can just homebrew in. And people are like, I'm a level 15 wizard in my home game.
Right. Like, I've been playing this wizard for 7 years. What are you talking about? Now
I have to put in how many spells I have to homebrew. How many spells do wizards have access to? And that, so many people were posting about having to edit or retcon their PCs at the end of the campaign. Very glad they changed this. Yes. Now, I am going to, and I'm really sad because the thread has been deleted or he deleted most of the thread. It's still there, but deleted most of the thread because Robert G. Grieve did, hey, Mental Lamia, Also, all of these companies keep forgetting that when people pay for something, they expect to maintain the same level of access and accessibility. Exactly. So Robert G. Greaves did a great deep dive, and he went full nerd. He broke out the spreadsheets. So much respect, right? He broke down and he's like, look, I have done the research. I have done the spreadsheets. I have compared it all. If you want 2014 spells, you have to homebrew 14 spells total. There are exactly 14 spells, which you will need to homebrew, and that is mostly so that you can click the right button to have the right dice roll. He's like, because sleep, you don't have to homebrew the old school sleep spell. You just look at what the old school sleep spell is, right? You don't need it because it's hit points. You don't roll for it. Things that are actually different that you would need to homebrew that need to roll, there are 15 or 14, I think. And he even broke it down by, these were the ones that were buffed, these are the ones that were nerfed, and then spiritual weapon, which got a boost, but it's now concentration. Oh, I'm real torn on that one. Y'all. But incredible deep dive work. And then he deleted it all because he's all like, well, WotC removed it, right? They fixed this problem. So eventually, after a whole lot of outrage and pushback and people threatening to cancel their D&D Beyond accounts, reasonably so, right? Because if I can't build the character that I purchased this account to build, why would I pay for a service? I just canceled our if this then that because it didn't do what we needed it to do. So not going to use it, right? So after a bunch of pushback and outrage, D&D Beyond went, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Our bad. We will do it like we did before. You'll be able to toggle between. You can access all the legacy spells. We were so excited and we saw this as an upgrade and we made the wrong call. And it's like, I understand the excitement, but you did make the wrong call. Like that toggle, you've got too many toggles already to be able to say, no, we can't make that toggle. That's a mistake. You don't buy anything on D&D Beyond, you rent it. Yep, it's always been that way. But you're giving up using D&D Beyond instead of books. You trade convenience for longevity.
So you are correct. You are 100% correct. And it's also true of a lot of other things that we pay money for online. You are licensing a thing. You are purchasing relatively short-term access to a thing that can be revoked at any time for any reason. But a couple of things. One, your average person doesn't slap down money with that understanding. And you can blame the customer and you would be technically right. But really, it's a bigger problem with companies. Something just started playing in my ears. I don't know what that is. I need to figure that out. But companies really put that in the tiny print because they don't want to discourage sales. And that's something that companies need to be much more upfront about. The second thing, I really hope that's not like coming across in the audio because I will scream. Anyway, the second thing is that while that is true, you have to remember what the customers want. And realistically, customers will always follow the path of least resistance. And when someone clicks on the D&D Beyond page, they bring up their character sheet, they want it to look exactly like it was before. Like each and every one of us has complained about a layout change for a website that we use, whether it is an email program or a search engine or the dashboard of a video game console. Like I saw a post yesterday about how the old Xbox, like original Xbox console dashboard was peak design. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding? The thing looks shitty.
I can have and will again go on a rant about how currently on desktop, so much of the text box for you to type into Discord is so little of it is for text, so much of it is for the emoji. And give like why is this much of a space for text when this much should be? And it's just yes. Yeah, Mentalomia says that's the thing with WotC Disney, Paramount, Twitch Mobile, yes, etc. Straight up destroying things. It's neither convenient nor lasting, which is why people are canceling. Yeah, David and I just had a talk of I still have a fairly large hard drive of music from when I bought CDs and then I had to convert them to put them on my old school iPod, right? Like all of these, like I purchased through Amazon. An artist that I liked who was in a band went independent, put out his own record. It only came out through Amazon digitally, so I purchased that and downloaded it. And I have just a hard drive of music. And everyone's like, well, why don't you listen to Spotify? I'm like, because half these songs aren't on Spotify. They're disappearing. A band that, I don't want to say one of my favorite bands, but I listen to them a lot. I know they're not very good, but they make me happy, right? There's difference to these things. Started deleting a bunch of their discographies. If they're not on YouTube, they're not on Spotify. Like you just can't get this music anymore. It just lives on my hard drive. Who's going to take it from me if it's on my hard drive?
And yeah, there's something to be said for people who archive stuff. And I do the same thing that Kay does. Like, I recently started using YouTube Music because of a friend of mine. He was like, "Here you go. It's time to move into the 21st century." And I was like, "Dope." And through that, I have explored a lot of music that I wouldn't have listened to otherwise, and I'm really like grooving on stuff that but you know what I do, Duty, is I had all those playlists on a in a basically like a newer, fancier version of Winamp. And I know I'm dating myself by saying I used Winamp.
It whips the llama.
Was like, no. And all those playlists that I had, I exported and I have those files. And in addition to that, I save them to text. And now whenever I put together a new playlist on YouTube, I make a offline save to my hard drive list of those songs so that if I need to, I can go get them. Because I know YouTube at any moment could just be like, gone. Why? Because fuck you, that's why. And so like your average person doesn't move through life with this understanding. And it could be because they're younger than we are and they don't understand that like the cloud is not a permanent thing. Like everybody talks about like come the zombie apocalypse, what are you gonna do? I am going to break down some sort of generator and hook it to a bike so that I can pedal real fast, so that I can run my computer, so that I can listen to my music. But ultimately, as a company that is trying to make money, you have to run the very narrow balance of introducing a new thing and demanding people pay for it, while also keeping the thing that people had before and love all at the same time.
Rex says, I'm seriously thinking about buying DVDs again at this point because the cloud cannot be trusted. Even less than the cloud, the streaming sites cannot be trusted.
Yo.
Everything is vanishing. The amount of stuff I just can't watch because it's nowhere on streaming, infuriating.
What's peak infuriating isn't just that. So like a couple days ago, I wanted to watch the Blade trilogy. Nowhere on streaming. It's just fired up nowhere. And it's like, Disney, you own this. Fucking put it on your... But if you have seen the HBO Watchmen series, you know how pained I am that I can't tell people to go watch it. People who haven't seen it to go watch it. And it's like, Dear HBO Max, it's now Max. Dear Max, you own this. You're not going to license it to anyone else because it is an original thing that you made. It should be on your streaming services. It should be available. It should be just as available as the fucking Sopranos are. But because it's not one of your top 10 most watched shows, you pulled it down for no fucking reason. You can't buy a DVD of it. You can't stream it on Max, and no one else. So it's gone. It's vaporware now. So the only way I could get it is by doing something illegal. And look at me. I am not built for prison, okay? I'm too cute. The lips too soft. The body too soft. I cannot be locked up.
Awesome.
Right.
Hair too awesome.
And so the way, and it's like everybody has forgotten the lesson that Netflix taught us, including Netflix. When we could get everything by clicking a button and giving you $20,
do it.
Then we did it, and we stopped stealing stuff. And to be clear, piracy is not stealing, so I'm just using it as a colloquial term. Like let's. But
I am also going to take this a slight aside because as most of y'all know, I work in the video games industry for a while. And when I wasn't working in video games, I was video game adjacent and worked on some really cool campaigns with some really cool video game company. Very cool video games. One of the problems with Gamergate, and y'all, this is, when I tell you things are interconnected, right? The problem with Gamergate, well, okay, there were many problems with Gamergate. Let's be very upfront. Many problems with Gamergate.
Like the white supremacist pipeline, continue.
Yeah, there were all sorts of problems with Gamergate. But a way that it has impacted people that they probably do not even know. There are so many exit to DOS era on floppies, pre-personal computer games that are basically unaccessible now. And there were groups that were pulling up funding and that were working to archive and save these games so that they could be played, so that even if they couldn't be run on a modern computer, you could see the art, they could be preserved. So many of those companies lost funding because of the behavior of, let's be honest, men during Gamergate. Because they went, this is a group that is hateful, that is sexist, that is bigoted, that is aggressive. How can a thing made for these people be an art? Like, it became so much more difficult for archivists to convince people with money that games were art because of the behavior. So now there are a whole lot of video games that are gone, that we will never get to see or play again because of this behavior. Yeah, exactly. Like dealing with Spotify, like, no, I don't deal with any of that.
And
San Francisco Games Museum is doing work now, and it's amazing. Yes.
And yes, D&D Beyond, like many other, like all other online services, like it's trading the security of having the book for the convenience of being able to access it in the cloud and all the tools and whatnot. But I say two things. One, yes, that is a trade-off, but it's a trade-off that can and should be mitigated by the companies, especially when you're in the position that Wizards of the Coast is in, where during the pandemic, so many people discovered your properties. So many people got into Magic the Gathering because of the pandemic. So many people got into Dungeons and Dragons because of the pandemic. You have this enormous customer base that was introduced in this very particular era of the products you made. So it makes sense financially to maintain and even uplift and build upon those products for that customer base. Because the longer you keep them locked in, the more money they will spend on your shit. and the more likely they are to introduce other people. Like Kay and I both have been at tables where we've gone, oh man, it's 6 of us playing and we have 1 book, and then 2 or 3 sessions go by and 2 more people have books. Those are sales. That's good. And 2, the second thing is AOL is a company that is frighteningly forgotten. If you don't have an AARP membership, you probably don't even know what AOL is.
Why are you coming for me?
Look, I'm looking on this screen. I'm looking at my AOL email address, and guess what? I have emails saved from the 90s.
What was your AOL email address?
I'm not going to say that online so that people can't look me up. But you know what my AOL email address is.
Oh, it's just that one? Okay.
Yep.
I was Star Chaser.
Ooh. Hot. But for a service that I have not paid for, that I think my dad is still paying for, they've kept my emails for like 20 goddamn years, 25 years. And guess what? Like AOL, I mean, obviously it's not thriving in the online market, but they've addressed the issue because there are tons of products that AOL sell. They sell them to old people who are easily bamboozled, and a bunch of it is just clogging up your hard drive. But they address the issue of, oh, we offer a service that people value, and that we use that service to bring in additional revenue because this thing that we make is something people trust. And it's like, dear WotC, like take a page from AOL and Yahoo and all these other like antiquated platforms and be like, hey, this is what we're known for. This is what we're good at. This is what keeps people here. So let's make sure we keep doing that so that we can sell them more shit.
Yeah.
Like, don't chase those people off.
Jason says, the idea that Hasbro doesn't even sell PDFs, unlike almost every other TTRPG publisher, is a warning sign. So that's another thing I want to discuss because WotC's in a very interesting position because Wizards of the Coast, obviously, for many, many years, did, Magic and D&D, and that's what they did. And they knew how to publish D&D books, and they made a couple oopsies, right? That gave Paizo a foothold, right? And then did it again with the OGL, but we're gonna ignore that for the moment. But again, that thing with the OGL ties into, but then they were acquired, and they were acquired by Hasbro. And here's the thing about Hasbro. They're a toy company. Hasbro knows how to make plastic that kids want to play with. Hasbro knows how to make packaged board games. Hasbro knows how to make pre-packaged card games. Hasbro knows how to do all of these things. Hasbro knows how to put fake horsehair onto a plastic pony so that little girls will comb it and be excited. Hasbro understood that they really didn't want Barbie to be bigger than He-Man because that would make all the little boys feel emasculated.
I'm so angry about that. Look, there's so many Hasbro things. Like we talk about like body positivity with women, and then you look over at He-Man. We talk about unrealistic beauty standards, and you look over at He-Man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm not gonna go there. Continue.
If you have not watched The Toys That Made Us, please go watch The Toys.
I have not because I can't.
It is such an excellent, and it will make you angry, but also. There's also, I forget the name of it, there's an incredible documentary up about the making of the first Black Barbie. And it's told by a young woman who is Black, and I think her aunt or her grandmother worked Hasbro making the first Black Barbie. Oh, wait, you're right. It is Mattel. My bad. Whew, yeah, this is where we are. My brain.
I think I need another picture check.
Oh, is it? Stop behaving. Yes, you're right. Apologies. But Hasbro is a toy company. D&D is not a toy. D&D is a publishing thing. And Hasbro came into this hamstrung because Hasbro doesn't know how to be a publisher. Our perspective, they might as well be the same company. Right, exactly. They're a big corporate entity. And like, look, I did play with My Little Pony. I never played with Barbie. Like, I played with three kinds of toys as a child. I played with My Little Ponies. I played with Sylvanians. I don't know if anyone remembers Sylvanians, but they were adorable. And I played with Littlest Pet Shop. And those were the only toys I had any interest in. I really like animals, y'all. I had no interest in human-shaped toys. Hasbro has to figure out, how do we make money off of D&D? And they, don't have, I mean, I'm not going to say they're completely inexperienced, but they certainly don't have the same kind of experience in publishing as they do in toys. And secondly, they are approaching it from a very toy mindset. Oh yes, we'll do this and then we'll sell these parts of it, right? You look at D&D Beyond, it used to be you could either buy the book, or if you're like, I want this one piece, I'll just buy this. I can buy this I can buy this species, or I can buy this background and put it on my character sheet. And then if you went back to buy the book and you'd already bought that one piece, it was discounted a little bit because you'd already bought it. And everyone loved that on D&D Beyond. And then Hasbro went, actually, we can't, right? Like, we need people to buy the whole book because that's how we make money. And you look at, kind of, they're not entirely confirmed, right? But a lot of the other information that came out around the use of AI and AI GMs and some of these various things that have been, and it's like they are trying to figure out how to gamify it rather than making it people playing a game together and trying to figure out how to make money off of that. And I think that is a big reason that there is so much pushback.
Speaking of, dear Wizards of the Coast, you don't need me to tell you that you fumbled a bag. The biggest bag. You know you fumbled the biggest bag. Because Larian looked you directly in the eyes and they're like, oh, you want an expansion pack? You want Baldur's Gate 4? Too bad. All the people that we liked at your company are now not at your company anymore. Oops. And it's like, and look, I am not looking at the books at Hasbro. I am not sitting here with a forensic accountant going over every expenditure. But given the fact that y'all have Baldur's Gate 3 Legos, that you have Baldur's Gate 3 things in your online thingy, that you have Baldur's Gate 3 tie-in to Magic the Gathering, and also the Karlach Magic cards. 10 out of 10. Stick close to mama. Yes. Means that you have a distant understanding of how monumental Baldur's Gate 3 was and is. As we're still playing it, it's been over a year. We're still playing it. We're still on our first play. Anyway.
The number of people I've spoken to who are like, I still have not gotten to Act 3, and I have 8 different playthroughs that I have started because this happens, and I'm like, no, I got to go do it all over again.
Look, I am gonna grab one of my buddies and be like, bro, we're playing. We're going to Act 3. Let's and again, more than a year after the game has come out, when there's a guarantee that there will be no additional content, nothing to bring me quote unquote back to the game, I'm still going to spend another 200 hours in this game. So y'all know y'all fumbled this bag. Where is my 12-inch Karlach statue? Where is my 12-inch Astarion?
I got real
statue?
nervous.
Yeah.
I got real nervous. There was
12
just enough
inches
of a
is a
pause
lot.
there.
Yeah.
Like,
But like, you could have, dear Hasbro, plastic figurine company. Where is my plastic figurine of all of the characters?
look,
I don't have $200, but if I had $200 and you said there was a 12-inch fully detailed Withers statue, I would slap down that $200 and I might buy two.
look, y'all. Look. A gelatinous cube beanbag. Beanbag chair, gelatinous cube. But yes, Jason says this is why I try to blame Hasbro, not WotC. I still believe in a lot of the peeps at WotC, just not the lawyers. I think there are definitely, I have to be careful what I say here, but there are a ton of really amazing and good people. And we are so fortunate. Again, like I said, community managers, social media managers are on your side. I promise you. There are definitely some folks still at WotC who don't get it. But it's a challenging, I don't want to say it's a challenging time for all companies, because there are definitely companies that have been like, oh no, our prices got so high because of inflation. Oh, what do you mean our sales are down so much? Okay, now everything is $20 less across the board.
Looking at you, Subway, Walmart, McDonald's,
Target,
Starbucks, etc., etc. Okay, so we're still talking about the D&D Direct, right? Because
oh boy,
dear people who put together the D&D Direct, I appreciate what you were trying to do. However, dear WotC, I am a black person. I am a black dude. Like WotC, like go find the VOD of this on YouTube. Look at me, I'm black.
Really?
Now, I could sit here and complain about how all the people who were the decision makers that you put in front of a camera were either white guys with beards. I think there were two, like, either lady or femme presenting people who were. I could lodge a complaint about that, but I'm not going to, because I get it. In these realms, the upper echelons are dominated by men, and I got a problem with that, because there's immense talent outside of the white guys with beards in t-shirts. But we're not going to go there. Here's my problem. When I saw people in the D&D Direct with your B-roll footage, with all of like your on-location footage of women, of femme presenting, of black people, of Asian people, of anyone who didn't look like the three white guys who did most of the talking, it was all people who represented other organizations. It was somebody who worked for a different company that was running a table. It was someone at a convention who was there for the lulz, but they were not WotC employees. And you were using them to try to show me that there was better representation from the people who were making the game. And you had like a whole 3-minute thing at the beginning where you were talking about how D&D was important for so many people for so long. Like, I was 7, I was 9, I was 10. I met my spouse there, yada yada. But it's like, that's fine and fucking dandy. But as somebody who plays D&D, as someone who knows people who are black and people who are trans and people who are part of the Alphabet Mafia, the Alphabet family, who play, going, hey, look at how inclusive we are by using people who aren't a part of us, is really irritating. And I think, and like, I understand that, like, you know, going out and like filming a convention and seeing all these like multicolored faces is great. But show me someone from the fucking company in that 20 minutes worth of D&D Direct, D&D Next, whatever you want to call it. But that 20-minute promotional video for the next year and a half worth of shit that you have, that someone besides white dudes like work at this company and are important to who your identity is. Because look, I understand we're 13% of the population. Put 13% of them motherfuckers in your company.
Don't make them all entry-level positions.
Right. Put 20 people in front of a camera, all Wizards of the Coast employees, and make 13% of them black people. And like Kay said, don't make them like the mailroom person, especially since mailrooms aren't nearly as big a deal as they were 30 years ago. Like, goddamn. And that is one of the big differences between tokenism and like and like rainbow washing and all that shit, compared to being honest and earnest about actually being inclusive.
Yeah. Again, David and I have been talking about this since we started this talk show, which is, we're coming up on 3 years, y'all, which is bananas. Thank you so much for sticking with us for 3. It's wild. But yes,
I got
D&D Direct.
I got one more little problem with D&D Direct. So, one last thing. They made a big fuss about how they were rolling out these books in different languages. One, what do you mean they're not going to be out now? What do you mean that in September, whatever, when the PHB drops, it's not going to be available in French or German or Italian or the languages that you were. You've been working on this for years. Maybe get a Frenchman, maybe get a mean German lady wearing all leather in the room, slapping y'all around and making sure that you're writing shit in German at the start rather than as an afterthought. In addition to that, the 3 most spoken languages on the planet are English, Arabic, Chinese. Why do you not have, and like, look, I am not from an Arabic speaking country. I don't speak Arabic. I know exceedingly few people who speak Arabic. Same with Chinese. I know like 5 or 6 people who speak Chinese. However, the biggest, you want eyeballs on your shit, my guy? Like, dear WotC, roll it out in the two other most popular languages on Earth. Maybe tap into that.
Yeah, the problem is there are cultural/religious reasons that those don't really get traction.
Yeah,
it's like why it's really hard to launch it in the Bible Belt.
That fine and dandy, but that's not the point, because it's not going to be that expensive when you already have a team of translators working on it to hire a dozen more people to translate it into Chinese and Arabic. Because I guarantee you, if like percentage of the, let's say like 1% of the United States plays D&D, and this is completely pulled out of my ass now, like so far up my ass that Kermit's gonna start singing Rainbow Connection, like just full on puppet it. But let's say 1% of 350 million people is like 3.5 million people. Let's say China's 1 billion people. Let's say the traction is much less, and it's 10% of what it is here. Then a 0.1% of 1 billion is a lot of fucking sales. Like,
as Jason says, there are people who speak Arabic and Mandarin outside of those cities, outside of the countries.
And that's the other thing. Like, if there's Alhambra is right there, big Chinese population. If you put a game store in there that had Chinese copies of the motherfucking PHB, that shit would sell out.
Yeah. But again, and as Jason pointed out, they're not distributing PDFs, and they obviously are gun shy on how well those physical copies will sell. And it costs a lot to print. And like, this is not me defending the decision or anything, but like, this is from a business point of view. This is why they are not doing it. And no one wants to take risks right now. And I feel like WotC Extra doesn't want to take risks because they have definitely figured out that if they... Look. What fans of D&D have managed to accomplish over the past year is awesome. We are being heard. Changes are happening. The OGL is proof of that, right? This is also terrifying because this also means that people right now are very, very excited to hop on the WotC outrage train. And I understand it, right? But that also means that bad actors can now come in and, like a cult leader, point people to wrong conclusions and get people riled up for the wrong reasons. So part of the reason I wanted to make sure we address this today is like, everyone, please, I am begging you. Sooner or later, it is going to happen. Someone is going to say something that is an untruth or an outright lie to make WotC look like the bad guys, like the worst decision WotC could make. And a whole lot of people are just gonna believe it. A whole lot of people are gonna jump on the outrage train and start the posting and the personal attacks and all of that just because it is what we have come to expect. And I am begging you, be a good, responsible community member and just fact check before you hop the outrage train, start the retweets, start adding people. Because, and that's not to say that WotC's never going to mess up again. They will. But there are people who take advantage of this kind of atmosphere for their own clout, to just hurt whatever. So just keep in mind that we do need to fact check.
I'm going to say it again. Dear WotC, I'm saying all this shit because I love your product. And again, I don't care about I do care about the creators thing, and I want to honor the investment that this company has put into us and our platform and our brand. But I don't care about any of that when I'm speaking about the product, because you're going to get the truth from me one way or the other. If you're going to buy my opinion, you're going to need to put some commas on that check. At least one. Hopefully two. But I earnestly love D&D. And I've never said this into a hot mic before, but so far, Dungeons and Dragons is my favorite system. And not just because it's the one I have the most experience in, but like Kay and I have spent a lot of time off camera talking about different systems. We have like a whole library full of stuff that we're excited to play and we're excited to bring to y'all. But D&D has a special place in my heart, not just because of the accessibility and the reach, but because of the cornerstone nature of it, the same way that Lord of the Rings is a cornerstone. Like, so many people, their experience with this sort of thing, with tabletops, starts with D&D. I can, I have a friend where I was talking to him about what I do here, talking to y'all, and he's like, "Oh man, I remember playing D&D back in like 1992. They're still doing that?" And I'm like, "Yeah. And if you want to play, come to my table." And so I say all the things that I say because I'm excited to see WotC make positive changes. I am excited to see WotC expand. And most importantly, I want WotC to make more money. And like, let's face it, we live in a capitalistic hellscape. And so business to make money. And if the profits don't go up every quarter, then it's a failed business. And so I want there to be growth, not just so that I can have more people to interact with, and so that the conventions get bigger and all that, but also so that WotC sticks around, so that WotC has the money to fund the servers that uphold the legacy 2014 stuff that we all love, while they roll out the new stuff. Everything that I'm saying is for WotC's success, like getting a more diverse group of people isn't a matter of, well, you're checking a box by having a Black person here. It's that there are plenty of exceedingly talented, very driven, very intelligent people who also have a different cultural perspective than a lot of your current and former employees. And that makes them a better candidate because they bring more to the table than someone who has all of those things, but not the additional cultural perspective. And all that's just really important. So when WotC, hopefully the people at the top hear filtered feedback from someone somewhere, and hopefully some of the things that we're saying goes to those people. But we do this and we say this out of advocating for your success. So take it and then go be more successful. You can have all these ideas for free.
And just like we say on the show very often, hey, white people, if your friend of color or straight people, your friend who's queer, comes to you and says, hey, that thing that you said isn't very cool. That thing is maybe a little racist, or maybe a little sexist, a little homophobic, or maybe a little transphobic, or maybe just a little not cool dated. They're not saying it to make you feel bad. They're not saying it because they hate you. They are saying it because they like you and they trust you enough they have the hope that you will take that feedback and become a better person and a better friend. That is all we are doing, is that I love D&D. I also love Pathfinder. I also love Starfinder. I enjoy a lot of different systems. I would play, if someone was like, hey, Kay, come play Backwater right now. Cool, I'm in it right now. Let's go. These things are set out of love because we love the system. We love the product. We want to keep playing it. And we're just really tired of it being so hard to play the game we love because poor decisions keep being made. And again, they're not being made by... There are people who 100% know and understand exactly what this means. And a lot of them work for WotC. So promote them. Listen to them.
Promote them and pay them more. Pay them a lot.
Pay them more. But yes. And that, again, is what we try and do on this channel. And, sure, we could outrage farm and we'd probably get a lot more views. But we're not here to outrage farm. We're here to talk about games we love and systems we love and how to improve the space as a player, as a GM, as a publisher, and as a person.
And I've been an editor for a number of years. And one thing that I have told writers, authors, screenwriters over and over and over again, if you give it to somebody who doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, and they tell you it's bad or it's wrong or there's something wrong with it, accept that they are right. However, if they tell you how to fix it, ignore them completely. And I am now on the other side of that. Like I said earlier, I am not privy to the inner workings of everything that's going on at Wizards of the Coast, everything that's going on at Hasbro. And don't think that I missed that Optimus Prime reference. Did the little Optimus Prime that you stuck in there, Hasbro? I saw it. I got super excited. I was like, my boy Optimus.
See, you and I had opposite reactions because, y'all, I work in video games. Do you know how many years I've heard about the metaverse? which is nothing, which means nothing, which has never meant anything. And I'm like, please don't try to make Sigil the new metaverse. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. And look, I own, it's packed. I can't pull it out. I own the My Little Pony TTRPG. I have run the My Little Pony TTRPG. I don't need My Little Ponies in D&D. I don't need those to be a compatible thing.
Super
I just
fair.
don't. If I want to homebrew a My Little Pony, I can will. Just
Look, I'm okay with you giving me like a bunch of like Transformers tokens that I can stick into my games, but don't make it a thing. Don't make it. You don't need to make it a thing. It can be what it is and not be a thing. But as somebody who's like, now on the opposite side of that, where I'm like, I'm not only know what's wrong, but I know how to fix it. Rah, 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 rah. I understand that I'm not privy to the inner workings and all of the different machinations that comes with, but that doesn't mean that the problems that we are highlighting do not exist. That does not mean that we are wrong in feeling the way that we're feeling. Like our discussion earlier of like about D&D Beyond. It's like, I understand this is a licensing agreement. I understand that this is a lease, that this is a rental. But that doesn't mean that it feels good when somebody comes and repos your car. Like, especially when you're up to date on payments on it. Yeah. Like it doesn't feel good when you go to play a game online, a game that you paid real money for, and then they go, hey, the servers are down, so you can't access this game anymore. Like that feels gross. And like, yeah, it's unreasonable to think that a game that came out in 2002 would still have active servers running. But on the flip side, it doesn't take multiple floors of programmers to figure out how to package it so that you can host it locally and run it on, especially if it's a game from 2002, that's going to be like 400 megabytes. Like get out of here. And so
finish.
And so like, yeah, these are real problems. And just because they're technically one way or the other doesn't mean that it's not going to feel icky for the client, for the person who's buying the things. Make it not icky.
Mike Trap on I'm Actually would always say you are technically correct, and that is the best kind of correct. But in this case, it's not the best kind of. It is not. You are technically correct, but you done pissed off everyone who's giving you money. So, and like they did, and look, this came around much faster than it could have. They could have said, too bad. They could have, they're definitely learning. It just, as I think Pan retweeted, as Pan said, I think it was Pan, like, it sucks that canceling your D&D subscription, D&D Beyond subscription is the way to get changed. Like, it should just be, hey, we really want this, right? And it makes sense. It sucks to be multiple years into a campaign, coming up potentially on final episodes, and suddenly it's like, well, not all your spells, because like we said, it was really only 15 that truly, a lot of them changed a little bit, but like truly a small number of spells, but like important spells, like spiritual weapon, if you are a cleric, is a central spell. You have to relearn it. GM has to relearn it. And look, there are still people who play 3.5. And more power to them, right? You do not have to upgrade. But a big part of D&D is how much you can customize it, how much you can decide what you want to play with and what you don't want to play with. And yeah, it is heartening to see that community concerns are being addressed far more quickly than they have been. It's still taken a little bit. It's not being taken on as deeply as I would like, but like there's improvement. And again, just the friendly reminder to please keep in mind that there will be bad actors who are going to come out and take advantage of people, of mistakes that have been made, and try to make decisions which are not, or going to try and frame decisions in worse lights than they are, and just be careful, because that sucks for everyone. Welcome back. The thing I was going to say, which I got very excited about, is we were discussing this in the Discord. I was grumbling because, look, y'all, I am a theater of the mind player. And if I don't theater the mind, I want maps and tokens. I want flat maps. I am not like I have exactly one. I have exactly one mini. I am not a minis and terrain person. I will play a game with it, but I find it to be a distraction from the actual game. And for years, I have been talking up owlbear.rodeo. It is my favorite VTT. It is lightweight. It has everything I need and almost nothing that I don't. And then they upgraded. They did a huge overhaul, and it is more of a resource hog now. It has a much steeper learning curve, and there's a ton new features. I just don't want the new feature. And they are such good people that they released Owlbear 1.0 open source, so you can non-profit download and use it. So Chaotic Wholesome is gonna host an Owlbear Rodeo 1.0 for an upcoming campaign so that I could play with my favorite virtual tabletop. And I'm so excited. And again, there are so many systems. Like, Matt brought me into Tailspire, which is beautiful in 3D. It's like Sigil, only like it's out there already. And I'm like, I sure do miss maps and tokens.
I'm glad we're talking about Sigil now.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
First off, I only have, so like, I don't know anybody who's like interacted with Sigil. And there is a apocryphal tale about Sigil at Gamescom. Gen Con. Which also I have no firsthand. And listen, we only deal with primary sources here, okay? This is like a really good history class. So what I am saying only goes off of the excess of 7 fucking minutes about Sigil that they put into the D&D D&D Direct thing. I forget what it was called, and now I don't care. But
D&D directly into my veins.
Right. Like D&D directly into my neck. Like Carlax's boot. No. First off,
my rainbow dice rolled off and ran.
A little bit of seppuku to wrap up the day. But it looks cool as shit. Like, let me.
It's beautiful.
It looks gorgeous. And if they don't roll out a loadout system for outfits for your mini, they are making a grave mistake. Because
they straight up said you'll be able to customize.
They said you'll be able to customize. They'll say that as you get like new items, you'll be able to like. But if they don't have like a transmog system, if they don't have like a multiple out, because I saw there like in one particular part there was a mini in a tavern in a bedroom wearing their outside clothes, and I was like, if you don't let me click a button and change this motherfucker into his PJs,
we need the Baldur's Gate 3 at camp.
Right. At bare minimum. And then also like people are gonna like dressing them up for like different terrains and shit. Like if you're going into
you need your fancy ball outfit.
Right.
What about the beach episode?
Right. Look, if I have a character in a game and I can't put him, her, them into a scandalous bikini, I don't want it.
Look, the amount of time, the excitement that comes over Pan's face when it's like we're going to a thing, your character's getting dressed up. What's their drip? Pan's like, We get to talk drip. Let's go.
And as I'm looking to it, and as I'm watching Sigil and watching the 7 minutes and 30 seconds worth of time they devoted to this, I'm thinking a couple of things. One, they're targeting the wrong people. They're absolutely targeting the wrong people because there's this like, oh, by the way, like all you newbies who are like just getting into this, come check out this thing where you could do a cool. No, no, because anyone who's played a survival game, anyone who's played a base building game, anybody who's played a farming sim, they know the ridiculous amount of time it takes to build a thing to look the way you want it. And as people who have played sims or farming games with me can tell you, what David does is David builds a platform, not a house, not anything with a roof, not anything with walls, but a platform, and then sticks the essentials on it and then fucks off because there's work to be done. It looks like Hobo's first halfway house in every game that I play. And so the thought of like building a setting in like for a campaign that I'm running makes me want to hurl. It makes me want to pull a K's Pride dice and dive off of the table back there. That said, there are people who are really into base building, really into Minecraft, really into that stuff. But there are already people who are like deep into it. And then like the minis and terrain people are already deep into it. So instead of like pitching it as like, oh, this is a cool, they're pitching it as something that is going to be easier than it is. It's going to be way, way, way harder, way more complicated than what the thing. And a lot of people are going to get into it and be like, yo, this was supposed to be easy. Like what? It's been 2.5 hours. I'm still building this one wall.
It will be easy in that there's lots of drag and drop pieces. But as Matt will tell you, or Momo, who's Robin of the Atomless partner, Momo's also in the Atomless. I hung out while Momo was just on stream building assets for a virtual D&D tavern. That wasn't in Sigil, it was in a different one, but like hours to just build a tavern and the amount of things you have to go back and undo. And yeah, there's definitely a market for it, but that's a lot of time. And I kind of want to just tell a story.
Right. And like Kay will be the first to tell you, I don't art. Okay. I had a teacher look during a parent-teacher conference, look at both of my parents at grade school and was like, we're not allowed to give kids F in art. But out of all the kids in this class, I would give your son an F if I could.
So savage. That is just so savage.
And I was like, bet. Dope. Fantastic. You're right, teacher. I will give up and never do it again. And so I can't even like,
too. There's a whole lot of quit in you when it comes to art.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's one area in my life where there is quit. Art. Everything else, I will persevere. I will grind it out. I will suffer, even if there's no reward at the end. There are plenty of video games I played where there's no fucking reward at the end. I'm just like, I'm gonna fuck. But you want me to draw a thing? Nah, we're done.
Okay.
Yep.
Hey, fix it.
But yeah, it I can tell just from the video that it's going to be very meticulous and really complicated. And every sort of like base building game I've ever played, there's always one thing about like positioning a thing or putting it somewhere where it's like, I can't get this roof tile rotated the right way to snap into position in it. And I guarantee you Sigil's going to have like a dozen of those, if not more, which is going to add more frustration. And then you also have to get it working for like 6 people at the same time. Like, yo, it is an ambitious project. And I think you're going to need a Photoshop level of skill and education in order to run it. And they're really presenting it as, oh, well, we have these like pre-made things and you could roll a die and it'll go over the bar in the tavern and it'll look really cool. No, you're going to spend 10 times as much time building. And that's the other thing is like a lot of like your set piece locations that you're going to want to have that shit for is going to be for one encounter. It's going to be for 3 hours a game. And you're going to spend 20 hours putting this fucking thing together. And then someone's going to like cast haste on your big bad and kill him in 3 rounds. And then you're going to be like, because every GM who's played a significant amount has had a Matt Mercer moment of you pick up all the notes, you rip them in half, and you throw them in the garbage.
I've absolutely never convinced a big bad that I had sided with them, cast haste, and then as soon as the turn came up, dropped haste. Okay.
And listen, when that happens and you've spent 10, 15, 20 hours building this terrain with all these little details and placed all the little lanterns and all the like little like rocks and shit all over the place.
This is going to require a ritual. 3 people are going to have to flip these levers while the other person does this to the big bad, and then suddenly
there's going to be more than one DM who's going to have their encounter broken in 15 fucking minutes, who is going to slam their laptop close, get up, walk outside, and scream into the night. And I know that Sigil is setting so many people up for pain, so much pain. And Wizards, you got to be real about the pain that you're about to deliver to your fan base.
Jason says in art school we had an end of semester review sophomore year, and one fellow student got the comment on his review, what are you doing in art school?
Yikes. That's how you make a dictator and start a world war.
I had a colleague who was in school to be an animator, and showed their portfolio, to the professor, and the professor was like, yeah, you've got a future in cleanup. She's like, oh, cleanup, like that's not bad, like it is actually, you're cleaning, you did it. And she's like, okay, I could do that. And he's like, no, I mean with a broom.
That hurts.
Yeah.
Nah, that's when you lean up against this man's car and wait for him to come out of the building, and you give him what for, as the kids say.
But yes, we are nearing the end of our time here today. Yes, Sigil, I will say Sigil looks beautiful. It is, again, there are lots of opinions about D&D Beyond, and they are all valid. Again, I have an unlocked account, and it makes character creation so easy. I can get people into the game very quickly, so I do use it. But I absolutely understand people who went, I don't use it. It is cool, though, if you are a D&D Beyond user, that the character sheets port flawlessly, or allegedly flawlessly, we don't know for sure, into Sigil. That is an obvious and should be their integration, but sometimes you still have to give an attaboy for the obvious things. That prof would have a very bad day, says Rex. Yeah, it was very unkind. It was very unkind. David, any final thoughts as we...
My final thoughts is you got to be careful about what you say and who you say it to. As a general rule, I don't go on the internet and say mean things to people. Not just because like I'm terrified of what I know people are capable of, but there's enough hatred and awfulness out in the world. I am not going to add to it. If it won't make people feel better, if it won't put a smile on somebody's face, if it won't give them a giggle, then you won't find me posting it on the internet underneath their video, picture, whatever. Because no teacher is going to say to me in art school, you're destined for janitorial duty, because I got love and I got hate. Okay, you're going to see both. There's a thin line between them. But in addition to that, let's say you do it to some 5'2" femme presenting artist with purple hair. The level that your world will get burned down. You have not conceived yet. And I'm not talking, your tires getting slashed. I'm talking about you getting run off of the internet and out of town. Okay? And yeah, we look, Kay has committed no crime. No crime. Especially no crimes that are within the statute of limitations. And the best part is, not Kay, but someone like Kay doesn't need to commit a crime to get at you. Did you know that it is perfectly legal to mail cockroaches to somebody's house?
Technically true, which is often the best kind.
Right. So just like if you don't believe in making the world better by not being a piece of shit, then at least know that it's a good idea to not be a piece of shit, because you will get got.
And I say this to, well, at least in my old job, I spent a lot of time speaking to video game students and young and upcoming coders, devs, artists who were all looking to start a career in games. I've spent a lot of time onboarding games journalists, and had to give them this info. And the same is true of the TTRPG space. These spaces are very small and very fluid. As I would tell the journalists, yes, you are working, rip E3. Yes, you are working E3. You have a press badge. You are an important, special person in that you have a press badge and appointments to go play games that other people either can't play or have to stand in line for hours. You are not special. You don't get to throw an attitude. Because A, you're going to make us look bad and yourself look like a jerk. But B, you obviously are hoping to have a career in games, either as a journalist or, maybe a lot of games journalists then hop and become narrative designers or QA or community, whatever. That low-level PR person who's manning the booth that you were a jerk to might be the lead on your dream project in 3 months. That person that you spoke down to, I literally worked at a AAA video game company where the person who used to be the studio receptionist became a narrative designer. I watched it happen in the time I was there. So if you're a jerk to the person sitting at the desk, they might be the decision maker on hiring you next time. The TTRPG community is small. The number, we're not going to name one name in particular, but if you know, you know. And even beyond that, I just recently heard a story of a person who they were like, oh, this person name dropped me, said I was going to be in this game to get another person of a similar background as me into their game. They'd never spoken to me about this. I've never met this person. And they're acting like not only do we know each other, but I have agreed to be part of their project and then are using my name to recruit other people. We find that out. And then it is shared because that's some shady freaking behavior. So, yes, call out bad behavior, call out wrongdoing, critique things with the hope and the purpose of making them better. Don't be a jerk just to be a jerk. I am currently being a jerk to chatbots that refuse to answer my questions, but I make sure they're chatbots before I go full.
Also, to my future robot overlords, I spent many years fixing printers. Your forefathers. So, as they often say about my kind, I'm one of the good ones. So, when you make me into a battery, make me into like a good one. Don't make me into one of the shitty batteries. Like, let me power something nice. But I spent a lot of time talking, like obviously talking to y'all, but also talking to WotC. So my last closing thought is to y'all. Two things. One,
I know, Shin. It's
yeah.
terrifying.
Ooh,
It's terrible.
yeah.
It hurts so badly when I hear it. Like,
when I tell you that people of a certain persuasion from the Caucasus Mountains have said that to me in earnest, like in real life, and surprisingly recent. Ooh, man, the number of times where I was just like, well, I was one of the good ones, but now I'm not gonna be. I'm starting with you. No.
What was there's an incredible, I haven't gotten to watch it yet, but I saw screenshots of X-Men 97, where like the white supremacist mutant hating skinhead, right? Like Rogue is up on him and he's like, I thought you were one of the good guys. And she's like, killed all of them, sugar. I'm all that's left.
Right.
Now you got to deal with me.
Oh, Rogue. Anyway, but to you, the viewers, two things to keep in mind. One, if it's on the website or whatever, homebrewing your stuff is viable. We always build in custom mechanics to everything that we do. If you enjoy playing D&D a certain way, don't let WotC tell you otherwise. Like, my people multiple times have said to Uno directly to their fucking face, you don't know how to play this game. Like, we understand. I think it's also a Hasbro property. But like Uno will tweet, hey, this is how you, and there just a number of my people being like, player, you don't know what you're doing. Get out of here. Stay out of grown folk business. So no matter what changes D&D rolls out, nothing changes in your book. Nothing changes in your notes. Nothing changes in your home game. Do what you do. Have a good time about it. Don't let Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro or any other major company get you down. There's enough of that as is. And my second point is, as much as I love D&D, as much as I will very closely watch like a hawk everything Wizards of the Coast does, D&D is not the only system. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of systems. Some of them are even good. I encourage you to explore, and if you don't have the time and money to go and look, there are plenty of resources. We had someone on who played a different system every week, or every episode was a different system. And I'm sure you go and track down, well, for one, go to our YouTube and track down an episode and watch it. And then on that episode, we say their socials out loud, and their socials are on the thing. So go look up their socials and then go, but track down other systems, learn about stuff, explore. Don't be one of those people who is like 60 years old and is like, how do I edit a PDF? Like don't become closed-minded and rigid. Don't be like your average person that follows the path of least resistance. Venture into the unknown, because that's where all the cool stuff is. Go find a new system, play it, give it to your friends, buy it for your friends, make them play it. Like, hold their cat food hostage, not their cats, just the cat food, because that shit's not cheap. But go out and explore other things, because there are other things than D&D. D&D got you here, but it doesn't have to be the only thing for the next 50 years. Like D&D was like, oh man, D&D's been here for 50 years. And yes, in the 50 years, so many things have come out, and so many people have different takes and have learned from D&D and are now doing so go do other things.
Yeah. And there's a very real chance, like, David, how many systems do you think I've played it? It's been a lot.
more than
I'm
20.
very fortunate. Yeah, I have played definitely not as many as it wasn't Rowan, it was it. But definitely not as many as some other people. But I've played a lot of systems. And I'm in a Pathfinder 2e that I can't talk about yet. I'm in a Starfinder 1e campaign. I'm in another campaign that I can't talk about yet that I really can't wait. I'm in a Modifius. I'm playing Acton Cthulhu. I played through the Breach where we didn't even have clicky clacky math rocks. It was cards, right? There's a whole lot of different systems. Even if you come back to D&D, you will come back to D&D a better GM, a better player, and better. We played. I talk about Backwater. Our friend Alex wrote Backwater. It is an awesome post-apocalyptic American, set in America TTRPG. There's a whole bunch of different settings. Candace the Magnificent wrote some of them, wrote the Florida one. Like, it is an excellent system. Had the most clean mechanic ever for luck, which was, is your luck even or your luck odd? And we have brought that into every D&D campaign we have ever run because it is the perfect decider. Like, Bradley Mulligan will go highs or lows, right? And that, okay, but that, no, evens or odds, right? Are you even? Are you odd? Roll a dice, doesn't matter what. If it matches your luck, you're lucky. Perfect, clean, flawless. We would have never known about it had I not been invited to play in Backwater. You will learn new things. I know people, I'm not a big fan of clocks, but I know a lot of people clocks for D&D downtime and acquiring new skills. You will find new things to add to your game, and maybe you will bring it into D&D and you won't like it, or your party won't like it. Or David brings things into campaigns, and I'm like, I'm not interacting with them. Other people can. I genuinely hate this, and that makes David want to do it all the more.
Listen, nothing pleases me more than just getting in the laboratory and being like, I'm cooking up this thing and Kay is gonna hate the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And then I drop it into the game and Kay is like, fuck this. And I'm like, yes.
I am literally like, David, I am not doing your home currency system. I'm not doing the math. I'm not doing the conversion. I'm not doing it. My character is not bright. Her intelligence modifier is negative. You can rip her off all you want. I am not going to fight it because I would rather be ripped off than deal with this system.
And like I haven't like ripped off anybody in my campaign yet, but more than once I've been like, all right, here you go. Now it's time to do math. And the entire session grinds to a halt while Kay looks at memes on their computer.
I'm like,
and
I'm
the
done.
rest of the party gets one of those like little accounting visors, like the green, and like a pad and like an abacus, and they're like, okay, carry the 2, and I understand no one likes it, but a big piece of advice: make sure that you, as a GM, remember that you are a player too, and you should be having a good time, and tormenting my players always gives me a good time.
And again, David and I and the rest of this table have a really great relationship where we can all look at each other and go, David, I fucking hate this. Do we have to do it? And one of us can say, I'm not doing it. Everyone else will go, okay, I will. Like, have that relationship with your table. Don't let it turn toxic or else you end up with the 44 rules.
Oh God. Yeah. I'm glad we did a whole episode about that.
Not seen that,
I think about that on occasion.
I might have to drop the card onto the YouTube video of this because everyone needs to go see it because that was an episode.
Yeah.
But
like 3 legitimate
I'm actually going
complaints.
to hold on. I'm actually going to will this work? I don't know if it did. I don't know if the marker works. So I'm just going to do clip so that I have a clip of this. Y'all, we have a really cool thing where if you put clip, it puts a marker on the actual timeline of the video, which means when it's time for me to go drop in a thing, it's just there. But we need to wrap up because we are over time. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for having just genuinely wonderful conversation. Like, it would be so easy to come on this channel and have people just be not great. You all are genuine. You are passionate. You are intelligent. You show the correct amount of restraint. thank you all. I am so grateful that I have somehow managed to attract such wonderful people into my Mark. I'm so sorry, Mark J. Your timing, yes, it's definitely a little bit off. Sometime we need to talk about Senjami Island Tactical Simulator.
Trigonometry.
Oh my goodness. Nope. I'm out.
I would have
my
to
brain.
take at least 3 math courses in order to play this game.
Yeah, I couldn't. I barely passed high school algebra. Trig is a bridge too far. I can't do it.
We leave the math for the smart people.
Look, I will break your game in all sorts of interesting ways. It will only be with math if D&D Beyond has helped me do that math. Because again, I made a wrong, and I absolutely broke the game at level 6, but I wasn't trying to. The first or the last on that list, David, I would say. But we are going to run away. Thank you all so much. Genuinely so grateful for this community that we are so fortunate to have. If you have additional questions about the Player's Handbook, we hang out in the Discord, and I can type. If you want to come out, hang out in the Discord, I'm happy to answer questions. Logomancy has also been in there, doing some breakdowns about which stuff we didn't even get into today, which is like, with the 2024 rules, you can, the not aggressive, what was the term? Hold on. The hostile. It used to say, like Warcaster would say, a hostile creature's movement provokes an opportunity attack. It no longer says that. It says, when a creature provokes an opportunity attack for you by leaving your reach, which means you can now do Warcaster spells, such as healing or buffs as a reaction. So you can spend your turn doing magic, doing your thing, and then when the fighter steps away from you, you can, as a reaction, cast Bless or Heal.
Or Haste, or Protection from Good and Evil. Or
it's going to be real fun.
A number of other spells that don't get a... And that leads me to like a whole rant about complaints I have about certain spell classes in D&D, which I'm not going to go into. You're welcome.
Maybe for another day. Next week, and I feel so bad because they thought they were going to be on today. But next week we'll have Rain Grimm on to talk about their projects. Thursday we will be playing Baldur's Gate 3 right here at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. David may or may not be streaming Friday, but Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, I will be over at Entropy Emporium I'm going to be playing Brandon, the himbo, not bard for once, the himbo ranger, over at in a homebrew 5e campaign. It's going to be real fun. And then we'll be right back here Tuesday to do this all over again. So once again, thank you all for hanging out with us. Thank you for great discussion and just sharing your time with us. We so appreciate it. So thank you again. Be kind to yourself, be excellent to others, and we will see you next time.